I was in the land of cotton, old times there are not forgot. Look away, Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born and early on one frosty morning. Look away, Dixieland. Then I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Away, away, away down south in Dixie. Away, away, away down south in Dixie. I was in the land of cotton, old times there are not forgot. Look away, Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born and early on one frosty morning. Look away, Dixieland. Then I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Away, away, away down south in Dixie.
America in 1861 was a divided nation. Whether or not Southern states would secede from the Union was a constant fear in a Northerner's mind. Although there were many causes for the Civil War, the most well-known is the federal government's abolishment of slavery. However, this was not the case for Arkansas. Arkansas's main goal was to avoid war and its horrific effect of bloodshed and lost lives. Another goal of Arkansas's was to avoid the inevitability of the conflict of secession for as long as possible. Pre-Civil War, Arkansas was prospering and expanding rapidly. Our population had risen to 435,000 citizens. The economy was growing whether or not we had slaves. Therefore, we didn't want this era to end because only 1/5 of Arkansas's population owned slaves. A divided nation, the unavoidable conflict at that time had risen. The presidential election day had arrived, and the outcome was the inauguration of the Union supporting Abraham Lincoln. This began the secession of several Southern states. It posed a major question for Arkansas: should we secede from the Union? As the secession of states progressed, Arkansas elected Governor Henry M. Rector from the direction of the General Assembly. Shortly after the war started in 1861, President Lincoln asked Arkansas for a regiment of troops to fight against the Confederates. The purpose was to force the seceded states back into the Union. Governor Rector strongly refused and immediately sent troops to fight at the arsenal in Fort Smith and began planning to fight for the South. One of our first responses to secession under Governor Rector was the Secession Convention. The members met very often in the next few weeks. David Walker was the president of this convention. They met in front of the Little Rock Old State House for the first time on March 4, 1863. This convention discussed where Arkansas as a whole stood in the conflict of secession. The majority vote of members was not to secede, even though federal troops were presently in Helena trying to take over the Arkansas arsenal. Eventually, the troops surrendered. The members of the Secession Convention reconvened for a special meeting on May 6 at the Old State House in Little Rock. There, they took a vote for secession, winning 65-5. Isaac Murphy from Huntsville, Arkansas, was the only one to refuse to change his vote. On May 20th, Arkansas was admitted to the Confederate States of America. The Secession Convention remained after this to prepare themselves for war in many ways, like creating the Army of Arkansas. The convention also elected military officials and told them to create a military board that would manage the war in Arkansas. The top positions were the governor as chairman and 2 advisors elected by the convention. As the writers of the website Arkansas Civil War said, this board was given full military power subject to the order of the convention and subsequent acts of the legislature. The Military and Secession Board greatly impacted and funded the war. The creating of the military board was an intelligent idea because after the Secession Convention adjourned on June 3rd, the military board successfully took over the war effort.
Heaven be with us in the strife, be with the Southern soldier, we'll drive that mercenary horde beyond our southern border.
Post-Civil War in the South was in a state of destitution because of all the architecture torn down. The economy also took a very hard hit because of the emancipation of slaves. Luckily, Arkansas was not a majorly impacted state. The secession of Arkansas was a very hard decision to make. Arkansas's most important goal was to avoid war, but the secession only brought them into the war. However, Arkansas always sought out what was best for their people, state, government, and economy.